John Wesley lived a very eventful and influential life. In this video, I'll attempt to capture those key moments in his life and how we as Christians in the 21st century and I, as an individual, can learn and grow from his example. John Wesley, a professor, a pastor, a missionary, one of, if not the most influential Methodist speaker, and certainly one of the first to advance the movement. But before John Wesley had eventually filled all these positions, he was a young boy being taught and guided by his parents, and particularly his mother, who was strict and the daughter of a pastor. She gave him and his siblings their education and invested time into them privately each week, which undoubtedly had very large influence on the rest of his life. Wesley later spent time at Oxford, during which he frequently met with a group of people with whom he would read the Bible and have discussions with. This group was mocked by fellow students as the Holy Club and Methodists, and was a shadow of the societies he would go on to center his ministry around forming. But between Oxford and the formation of the Methodist societies, Wesley experienced a confronting challenge to his faith. He spent time in Georgia evangelizing to some Indians, accompanied by a group of Moravians whose evident strong faith caused him to doubt his own. Eventually, that mission in Georgia came to a failure for Wesley, and he returned home significantly disappointed. Eventually, Wesley attended a society that was preaching on Luther's preface to Romans and had a personal conversion experience at this teaching of free grace. After this, Wesley began to enthusiastically preach about grace until he was no longer allowed to speak in the churches. At this time, Wesley reluctantly began to give such sermons out in public, completely against the social norm. John Wesley had a large impact on the contemporary church. Although the Anglicans and Moravians were already advancing mission, particularly in Britain's new land of America, Wesley broadened its range by adding to it a focus on social work. During his time at Oxford, he would reach out to people in the prison and minister to them. And later, when he took his sermons outside the church, he encompassed even the common people of Britain in his mission work. His implementation of the societies of believers also nurtured the church in a new, more intimate way, creating a new experience through which people could connect with fellow believers and hear from God's word. These societies became so widespread that by the time of his death, there were 70 of them, which included up to 10,000 people overall. Valuable lessons that could be learnt from Wesley's life start at his practice and his priority of the societies he formed. There is a richness that comes with reading the Bible alongside other believers. The connections shared and the various experiences and perspectives that are entailed cannot be gained through a weekly Sunday gathering, but must expand beyond it. It can be learnt too to make a greater effort to reach those in need. Similarly to the way Wesley would minister to prisoners, there is the need to minister to those who are poor, to minister to those who are homeless, to those who are less fortunate than most, and are among those who have not heard the gospel before. This could be done through taking time to have conversations with those we pass by, offering not just our time and our resources, but connection, offering our encouragement, and especially offering God's word to them, just as Wesley did. In the 18th century, it was unthinkable to give a church sermon outside the church building, besides the exceptions, of course, such as George Whitefield. Yet once John Wesley started to, he did so several times a day, frequently traveling further to reach larger amounts of non-believers. In this, Wesley fearlessly denied the social normal, which reveals for me how concerned I can be with the opinions others have of me over the work God has for me to do, revealing how much more I would like to conduct myself in a manner similar to John Wesley's in that regard. And on the topic of Wesley's several daily sermons, his prioritizing of God's work over his own life challenges me also, as I struggle to give such a large portion of my time to something I don't emotionally feel drawn to. At this realization, I have felt greatly convicted and encouraged to disregard personal feelings and desires for the sake of reaching others for God. Wesley had a significant impact on the church's activism in social work and local preaching, and he lived a full and fruitful life. From this, we can be encouraged to follow his example and to show the same enthusiasm and the same passion to satisfy the spiritual needs of the less fortunate. Thank you.